hello everybody and welcome to the second Iceland Cineclub. I'd like to introduce you to Grímur Hákonarson. Is that correct?
Grímur Hákonarson, yeah.
Grímur Hákonarson. Okay, perfect. Great. And he's the director of the film that we saw tonight, Rams. Grímur, I really enjoy your film. I saw it for the second time tonight. And so my question is, basically, let me maybe do a full screen here. But I guess that it's probably, is it a true story what you were telling in Rams, or it was a fiction?
Yeah, it's a fiction, but it's based on a true story that my father told me about two brothers who didn't speak to each other for 40 years, but they lived like on the same land, you know. And so, you know, it's usually most of my movies are based on something I've heard, like story or like article or something, and then but then I sort of make it into mine and I turn it into a fiction, you know. And then also the other story in the film, you know, because I sometimes say like it's like story A is like the brothers, and then the story B is the sheep and the slaughter, and that is also the scrapey pandemic thing is based on my like experience of people that I know, like who had to cut their sheep, you know.
Yeah, because I felt like, I guess probably in most countries, you know, farmers that actually have livestock, you know, they get very attached to their animals, to their livestock, because that's, you know, their livelihood depends on them. So which is really, you know, it's very important. So I guess that I mean, it's a story that it's very universal. You know, I don't find it absolutely only Icelandic. I mean, the landscape, it's Icelandic, and maybe the way the two brothers behave. But, you know, I could tell you stories about Sardinia, for example, you know, the Italian island of Sardinia, where people behave exactly like this. They don't talk to each other for like 40, 50 years. And then for some strange reason, they come together. And yeah.
Like in the real story that I based the script on is they never spoke it. They didn't speak. It ended like very tragic. The other brother died, and they didn't start to speak. But in Rams is even though my ending is not happy ending, it's more happier than the true story.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was going to get to the ending as well, because it looked a bit like you know, one of those famous statues of Michelangelo, you know, the Mercy, you know, which the two brothers are together, and that actually gave me hope, you know, for some reason, maybe because I'm optimistic, you know, I thought that, you know, it was going to end well, but, you know, you're telling me that it didn't. So anyway,
yeah, it's you know, a lot has been written about this ending, you know, but I think the main thing is that they managed to kind of reconcile finally, you know, and they kind of they get together, you know, they unite, you know, in that whole, and you know, we don't know if they're gonna survive or not, but I think the important thing is that they reconcile, you know.
Yes.
That's and like there was like Australian version, Australian remake that just came out last year, you know. It's probably still going on the world, and they changed the ending, you know. They sort of made it more yeah, not as open as this one, you know.
Oh, okay. So like a happy ending.
Yeah, like a happy ending. Yeah. My ending is kind of it's my ending is kind of open for interpretations, you know. Like some people think it's sad, and some people like you think it's hopeful, and I kind of like to I guess I like that kind of ending, you know, that people have to use their brain to
Sure.
interpret what happens, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
But so is this something that because I feel that you really wanted to tell us something about the country itself, you know, the fact that it's a very far away country, very distant, and people do live in a very isolated way. Is that a point that you wanted to make in the film?
Yeah, I mean, we are on a very isolated island, and Icelanders were isolated for centuries, and uh, and we, you know, we lived, we were farmers, like we just actually we were farmers until like the Second World War, and
Yeah.
everything changed, so I think I think the brothers in Rams, they kind of they are represent like a little bit like Icelandic mentality and behavior, and you know, and I think Icelanders are, they are a little bit stubborn, and because it was like very tough for us to survive in Iceland for all those time, and um, so yeah, definitely the story is very universal, but I also believe that it's, especially the characters are very Icelandic, you know.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Another thing that I've noticed it's the fact that the film, and I really appreciate that, I have to say, it's so concise, so laconic, you know, but not only because the two brothers don't talk to each other, but because all your shots are just so perfectly enough of what you want to say. You know, it's like you don't, you're not rhetoric at all. You don't, you know, just go into any kind of baroque kind of shots. You know, they're just wonderful. They're just perfect shots. So, and so how do you work with photography? How do you work with, you know, the assembling all the various sequences?
Yeah, yeah, we kind of like sort of like the cinematography is well, it's partly like my kind of personal style as a filmmaker, you know, this kind of static and kind of long shots, you know, and wide angles, you know, and I try to have this urge, you know, to try to use as few shots as I can when I'm shooting a scene, you know. I always find it's good to do it in one take, or you know, something. And so but then I worked with a cinematographer, Sturla Brandgrólen, Norwegian, and yeah, we kind of trying to create this kind of isolation and this loneliness, you know, in the film, and also to, yeah, to show that they are kind of uh, like just uh, part of the nature, you know. They are very connected to the sheep, and also the nature and the mountains,
Yeah.
and um, um, and it's pretty a slow pace. It's a slow pace film, but still the it has like a very clear kind of plot line, you know. Uh, which, so if that is something that is in my most of my films also.
Yes. And how easy or difficult was it to work with the two actors? Because they were also wonderful. You know, I think they just gave incredible performances. So how do you go about to do that?
Yeah, I was like very lucky with the cast. You know, they are both like very experienced actors, and yeah, we did a lot of like rehearsals, and I started to sort of meet them like just 2 years before the shooting. You know, so we had a lot of time to get to know each other, and I sent them to work on a farm and, you know, stay with sheep, and we did a lot of like practical rehearsals with them, and yeah, it was you know, I yeah, I think it was just uh the cooperation was really good, and I think they really spot on, like the characters, they really I think that was one of these kind of elements that make the film good. I think these two actors.
Yes, absolutely. But also the other thing that you do that I've seen in this movie, and I know that you've done it again in the second one, it's the mix between black humor and drama. So it's which again, is this personal, or it comes again from the country? So it's cultural, or it's just individual?
Yeah, I think that's something like a personal thing, because I remember I did a short film like a long time ago, and I wanted to make a drama film, but it turned out to be very funny. So I think it is like something that is like in my psychic. But I would say that I also don't like genre movies. I don't like to make film that is like that has to be a thriller or has to be just a one specific genre. So I like to mix those things together. And in Rams there's a little bit of comedy and drama, but it's also a thriller elements in it also. Like the second part of the movie when the Gumi is like hiding the sheep from the police, and and there's guns, and there's all these things. So it's I think that is what interests me to think out of the box and try to create something that you can't really put like a stamp and say, this is comedy or this is drama or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought that, I mean, I don't usually like remakes because, as you probably know, they're never as good as the original. But in your case, it's going to be, I mean, I haven't seen, of course, the Hollywood movie or the Australian movies, but, were you involved in any way, or they just did the remake? How did you go about the remake of your film?
Yeah, I kind of read the script and I saw the cut, and I was like, but I decided to, because when you finish a movie, you have to move on to the next project, and you can't really always been controlling. I'm a control freak myself, but you can't control some people who are doing a remake on the other side of the planet, and so I just decided to just trust them for it, and I didn't really have any sort of, I didn't interfere at all, and I think that's I would also, if I was making a remake, I would also I would prefer that that the previous director of the previous movie wasn't trying to interfere.
Yeah, but how do you consider that movie? I mean, is like the little brother of your, original content, or how do you see it? Because it's really like a very, intriguing way of, it's like you created, an incredible film with all the different aspects that we were saying, black humor and drama and thriller and anyway, also showing exactly the ethnic cultural background where it's coming from, and then you go to Australia and it just becomes another thing, completely another thing.
Yeah, but Australia, they have like they have this kind of sheep culture, and they had like a lot of similarities. They had these ram competitions, and they had like a lot of things in common. So it kind of made sense to make it there, and it's just an honor. I think it's just an honor that someone wants to to make a remake of your own film. I think that's
yeah. I didn't think about the similarities. It's true. I mean, like in New Zealand or Australia, they do have this. The sheep are very important ones, etc.
Yeah.
So also they're both like islands, kind of like far away with a lot of space and kind of like not many people per square meter, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, if we want to go on with a little bit of question from the audience, it would be really good. So we hear different opinion, different comments, etc. Anybody ready? Yes, Angie, please go ahead.
Hi, Grímur. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But yeah, no, I thought it's not so much a question, it was more like an observation. One is like kind of also still relevant till today with the, can you guys hear me? I don't know if you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a parallel to today, you know, with the isolation and, you know, everything coming to a halt. But I thought it was something quite interesting when I was watching in the movie. I thought it was very unapologetic, you know, like nothing was like on the nose. It was very much very raw. Like, so the nature was raw. You didn't show like, we didn't see like, you know, the other parts of Iceland. We saw the raw nature. Same with the actors; they were very raw. They were they were naked a lot of the time. The landscape is raw, but then there was this other part of it, the emotions behind it. I felt there was this part of it that was kind of violent. There was a violence between the two brothers, the violence when the ram mounts the sheep and just like, you know, rams her against the wall and has no choice in it. That's quite a violent scene at the same time. But then there's this other side, which is like, I don't want to say love, it's more like love, but shown as protection. So they're protecting the rams, you know, the mean brother Kiddy is protecting his brother. So there's this protection and this violence. And even at the end, I actually thought that he passed the brother, so I didn't understand that. But I quite like that it was open, so you can interpret. But even at the end, there's this. It looks like the imagery is almost like he's gonna bury his brother because he's unconscious, the other guy. So, you know, if you're unconscious and you hear that shovel, you think you're about to be, you know, buried. But then he goes into that hole. And it's almost like, you know, you're being born again. You're going into that hole, into the canal, and then they're naked. It's that rawness, and then he's protecting him. And then, like you said, they reunite. And I thought this whole way through was like this unapologetic way of telling that story. I really like that, and that was more like an observation. In terms of question, it's like more like the shots of the animals. Like how do you even, because you know animals, they're gonna have their own mind of their own. You can't just make them act things. So how did you get them to like? Is because that's what sheep do? I don't know. Do they just wait outside the house? Do they just mount each other? Do that? You know, how did you guys do these shots of the animals?
Yeah, we got some help from farmers, like sheep farmers who were with us on set, you know, and they kind of took care of the animals, and then we just used like some simple tricks, you know, like we like when the ram is like trying to have sex with the sheep, you know, we kept the ram kind of isolated, but very close to the sheep for some days, and then when we shot the film, he was like very up to it, and
I shot the top of April in London when lockdown is lifted.
yeah. But like, yeah, we were lucky with the sheep, you know, and we selected sheep that was like calm and sort of easygoing, and like we selected home sheep, like sheep that don't go to the mountains, and so they're more used to be around people, you know. So that was like, casting was important there also.
You could almost smell them, like the sheep. It was very like the way it was shot. It was very, yeah, it was like that rawness.
Visceral, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's true what you were saying, Angie, that, you know, about the protection, the thing. I mean, you really feel something for those sheep because the brothers are so involved, you know, it's like there's a lot of connection. And anyway, they're the only human beings that they are actually talking to. They're just, you know, spending all their lives taking care of them. So, you know, they become really important. They become part of their family, basically.
Well, we saw this actually in November in Denmark when the farmers had to slaughter their minks. And then afterwards it was seen that they probably didn't have to, but you could see, you know, these like, it's near where my family is from. So that, you know, you don't really show emotions in that part of Denmark. And, you know, one of them was like crying on TV, you know, even though part of their trade is to actually kill the minks for fur. So there is this cruelty behind it, but there is this attachment and this livelihood and this routine. What do you do when they're not there anymore? So even that was relevant till today, like that film that you shot, Grímur, it's still relevant till in 2020 and 2021. So it's kind of interesting that way.
Absolutely, yeah. We got Sarah. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, well, first to say I loved this film from beginning to end. I absolutely loved this film. It was so beautiful and so crystal, as Paola said. It was just so said exactly what it wanted and no more. But my question is, as I was watching it, I found myself going through a real response around moral ambivalence, because he discovers that the ram has the disease when he goes to kind of check how it won. And then he lets it be known, not directly, and then everybody have to give up their sheep, which is, I mean, it's devastating. I cried as much, half an hour in, when he goes to shoot all his sheep, I was crying along with him when he was washing his hands at the sink. I mean, I was just very, very, I got really involved with the sheep as well. But then I started to kind of have this moral ambivalence around, one, the decision to wholesale slaughter without waiting to see who developed. I mean, you know, I put in the chat about the foot and mouth outbreak here in 2001, where they did also massive, mass scale slaughtering of farm animals, and it's devastating. Yeah. And I have questions about the disposal of that amount of animals. You know, if you're getting rid of a disease, those carcasses are also carrying the disease. So, but the moral ambivalence started to show up, one on the decisions that were taken, and I started to see a difference between the kind of institutional society and the farming people. You know, the way they dressed. Everyone in the farmers were all dressed in wool. Yeah. And the other people were dressed in, you know, man-made fibers. Mm. And then who was losing all their sheep? That kind of contagion, you know, it showed me something about the interconnectedness of everything. You can't just contain something. And then when we discover that the person who started the whole process of discovery of the disease has got these sheep hidden in his house, it was quite shocking. And I felt a kind of shifting relationship with the characters. Oh. You know, because one was clearly, it started off, one brother was the, you know, the brother we identified with, and then the other brother, and it's shifted. And and so when they were in the snow hole at the end, I was really interested in that tragic kind of storyline. And I just wondered if you had any comment around that and the moral ambivalence.
No, but I think it's those swifts that you're talking about that's something I think it's a good sign. I mean, I think it's good for what I personally like. You know, that you know, maybe some people say that they sympathize with the other brother in the beginning, and then they start to sympathize with the alcoholic brother later, and it's a big, like a moral question, like if he's doing a good thing, or if he's if he's doing a right thing, you know, by hiding the sheep, you know. And but I think that is you know, what also makes the film good. I think that sort of these moral questions and people kind of interpret it in a different way. The institutional people, there was always this idea that the disease or the people who destroy the sheep, they kind of come from the external. They come from Reykjavik or you know, the city, and they sort of come into that innocent farming community, and they sort of make like and they destroy it, you know. And some people have seen this as like what would happen if Iceland joins the European Union. Is that sort of like the bad bureaucrats from Brussels would destroy Iceland, you know? I mean, that's someone a lot of people see it in that way also. But yeah, but thank you for your question.
Yeah. Train of thought. So yeah, you were talking about the companies and things, and just kind of leading on a bit to the county, which is also an excellent, just awesome film that pairs kind of quite nicely with Rams. And it's a bit of a far out question, but do these films almost exist in the same universe? And what brought you kind of back to the farming side of things with the county?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're supposed to be set like in the what they have in common is like it's like a rural stories about farmers. But I think the Rams is more like a timeless film. It's more like about like the romantic sheep farmer, and it's about like the old generation of farmers who is like kind of dying out, you know. But and more timeless, yeah. But the county is more about like a present. It's a present story. It's about modern like high tech farmers, and I decided to make the county. It was mainly because of that co-op. You know, there's this company that is exploiting the farmers. It's sort of based on a true. It's actually exists, this company, and that was my main goal. You know, that I just wanted to make a film about this this co-op. You know, in the film, and so yeah, it was like I consider myself a political filmmaker, and I felt like some kind of obligation to make this tell this story. You know?
Okay. That answer your question, Alex?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just if anybody hasn't seen it, I think it's on Amazon. You can rent it on there or to buy it on there, and maybe Mubi or Curzon, I think, as well. So just, yeah, if anybody wants to go and find it, go watch it.
Yeah, some people in Iceland are complaining that I always make films in the countryside, and that I should sort of go do a film in the city, Reykjavik, and I'm planning to do that. My next movie is going to be set in Reykjavik, but when Reykjavik was a village, like it's a period film.
Okay.
Wow, cool. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but basically, I mean, you set films in the countryside because that's where you're from, right? That's your experience, or you were born in Reykjavik and then you're a city person. So what's your experience?
I'm a city person, yeah, but
Okay.
my parents are from farms, you know, and my family is. I come from farmers, you know, so I have some experience, and yeah, and that's why I kind of sometimes also say that you know, I think there have been made some kind of not so good films in Iceland about the farmers, and I see like myself as also kind of trying to make like a true kind of, or like an honest films about farmers, you know. That's
Sure. Yeah. So we got another question from Sarah. Do you want to ask, or should I just go ahead? Okay. So basically, she was asking about the blizzard scene. So the last scene of the movie. How did you manage to do that? You know, what kind of technical equipment, or you know, how did you do it?
Was the blizzard real?
yeah, well, the part of it was real, you know. We Rams was like we didn't have so high budget in Rams, you know, so we couldn't afford to do like a big studio bliss, you know. So so we filmed a part of it in a real bliss, and then we did close-ups, and you know, obviously the scene, in the hole, you know, we did that with a snow, like a snow fake snow, like a snow machine, artificial snow. So it was, yeah, it was a mix of that, and it was like technically the most challenging scene of the movie, you know, and it was really important to make it work, you know, and it was pretty stressful to do it right, because you don't want to sort of fuck up your film at the end.
True. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, because it's very counterbalanced very well the rest of the film, which is, you know, it's a bit, you know, even if it's isolated, you know, it's a bit romanticized because, you know, you're in the countryside, you got livestock, and you know, and then all of a sudden you find yourself into the blizzard, and you find into the really very heavy dramatic sequence of, you know, the final sequence.
Yeah. This happens in Iceland, like this can happen very fast, you know. You can the weather can be very dangerous, you know, in the winter, and especially if you're living, like they are living quite high up, you know, they're living on you know, close to the mountains, like the highlands, and so this is actually,
how tall are the mountains in Iceland? How tall? 2,000, 3,000? How many?
The tallest is like 2,000, and they are probably living like 600 meters above sea level, you know, the province. So they are living pretty high up, you know.
Alex would like to just add, whereabouts was it filmed in Iceland?
Well, it's filmed in
location?
Bárðardalur. It's a valley in the north of Iceland. And the main reason was that the main location, like the two farms, they were perfect. I felt they were perfect for the story, and the landscape was very good there, very visual, and that the valley is isolated, and it's only sheep farmers live there, so they have also this kind of sheep farming culture, and it felt like a right location for the film.
And how did you come by the location? How did you find it?
Well, I actually drove around the country. You know, I was spent like a lot of time to, you know, driving and trying to find the right location, and then I, yeah, just by a coincidence, I just bumped into this location, and yeah, there was like a revelation when I saw it. I really liked it, and I knocked on the door immediately, and luckily there was like some nice people living there who wanted to help me, and I'm still in contact with them. Actually, I go to visit them. I go to the valley every summer with my family, and we spend some days there.
Yeah, I felt that's the other thing I wanted to ask you. I felt that you did have some professional actors, but also some people were from the locals, right? I mean, people that never acted in their lives. Is that true?
Yeah. That's something that I like to do. You know, it's also cheaper to don't have to pay professional actor, but yeah, like I like to find some characters that you know, maybe they're not who are because the actors, many actors, they live in downtown Reykjavik, and they don't have like the right look maybe, and so I like to try to make the film more authentic by casting locals.
How did how was the locals' reception, and how did they take the filming, and how long has it happened for? How long did you film for?
We filmed like it was like 3 shooting periods. It was like summer and winter, and it was filmed in 2014. And the reception of the locals was very good, you know, and no one complained, and it's maybe just the ending has always been a controversial thing, you know, and the people sort of divide into 2 groups, you know. People either they love it or they don't like it, you know. So
it's a bit like the townies and the countrymen, right? So the very kind of vivid contrast between them that we discussed before. But also, like, I had one observation that I wanted to kind of like maybe talk to you about, because the film, you talked about the ending, which is an open ending, and I think that's kind of like great because it just, as you can see, it opens like, you know, a massive like field for conversation and like deliberation, like what happens after. But also, like, I find that the beginning is as open as the end, because we only know that they haven't talked for like 40 years, that they are brothers, they don't like each other, they don't talk, but we don't know anything about like what happened before. So there is a bit of a story in the middle about the parents leaving the farms to one of the sons, not the other. But apart of that, like it's as open as the ending. So I found that really amusing. And
that's just like the means of telling a story, building up like a plot. It's that you deliver the information slowly and slowly, you know, as the film.
Very kind of like different structure to the usual kind of like, let's say, Hollywood movies where you've got
Then you would have like then you would in Hollywood film you would have like a text in the beginning, you know.
Yeah, or a flashback, or kind of like
haven't spoke
when they were kids.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was still kind of like, again, it makes it more interesting because you want to know the story, but then again, the story that is portrayed in the film, although it seems very simple, but it isn't, because like you get really involved in it, and we talked about many different aspects of the kind of the moral discourse, the kind of like new ways and old ways, and kind of like so the bureaucrats and the visceral kind of like people, traditional farming and all this, it's kind of like, yeah, it's fascinating, and I think like it, like not having the backstory also kind of like adds the mystery, but also makes you live in a moment with them rather than focus and kind of like look for other storylines which are not there. So you kind of like literally you plonked in a moment and you go with the film.
It
doesn't distract.
Thank you, Mia. I just wanted to ask you about what have you been working for in the past year with all the pandemic, etc. Did you start working on a new film? Are you ready to shoot a new film?
I've been using the pandemic to write, and I'm working on several projects, and I have this Icelandic period film set in the Second World War, and I have a film in the US, a film, and two films, and I have some TV series, and so that's everything is we're working a lot in the pandemic, and ready to make some new stuff, and
Good. Do you want to tell us anything more, like any title, anything? It's all top secret still.
I prefer not to maybe.
We're just waiting anticipation.
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to ask now at this point, I'd like to ask Cinzia, to talk a little bit about this collaboration that we started exactly from today on, but the photo exhibit will last until April, so we still have time to go back and see it and talk about it. So please, Cinzia, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Hi. Actually, before I start, I have a question to Grímur. Would you mind to expand a little bit, if through the film, if there's been any changes in the way farmers are seen or are looked at in Iceland, in the sense like you mentioned that there's a bit of a not being so well well seen in a way. So I'm just wondering whether your film has managed to give them a voice or has changed something, considering as well the changes that Iceland is going through quite a lot massively in the last few years. So I'm just wondering if that has had some sort of, what kind of feedback did you?
Yeah, I think so. It's the main thing is the slaughter, the disease, and all that, that people sort of, before I made this movie, people didn't have any idea how it is to lose all the sheep, in one day, and these kind of cases didn't get much media attention, but now, like the summer, there was like this scrapie disease came up, like in north of Iceland, and there was like thousands of sheep slaughtered, and then suddenly, like it got a lot of attention in the media, and so that's that is one thing, and And so yeah, and I think like generally like people after seeing rams also like people maybe understand like the sheep farmers mentality, and what why it's so important, why the animals are so important to them, and yeah, I think I believe that sort of because the rams is I think almost everyone in Iceland saw it, and it was a big hit, so
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
thank you for yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Stay in touch. When you're in London, come and visit us. Maybe we can present your next film live in a live festival, maybe.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wonderful.